News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Rix. President Trump says he'll address U.S. military strikes in Venezuela later today from Mar-a-Lago in Florida after capturing and flying President Nicolas Maduro out of the country. The move follows months of threats, alleged drug smuggling boat strikes, oil seizures, and troop buildups in the region. Land strikes finally started overnight, with aircraft sweeping Caracas, attacking civilian and military installations. The Venezuelan government called it an imperialist attack and urged citizens to take to the streets. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi just posted on X, Maduro and his wife have both been charged in New York with a slew of drug and weapons charges. But legal justifications for these strikes are still unclear. Utah Senator Mike Lee, who's a Republican and ally of the Trump administration, says he's spoken with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and says U.S. strikes likely stem from presidential powers under Article 2 of the Constitution to protect U.S. personnel from an imminent attack. Rubio himself has called Venezuela's cooperation with narco traffickers and terrorists a direct threat to U.S. national security. The Venezuelan government is now calling the U.S.'s military aggression overnight an attempt by the U.S. to seize the country's oil resources. And we should note, most international companies, barring Chevron, have already left the country. Venezuela's oil production infrastructure is also not in great condition. It's been hit by sanctions and rocked by some high-profile accidents. Venezuela was pumping just under 1 million barrels a day before a partial U.S. blockade late last year, down from almost 2.5 million a day a decade ago. Getting back to that level again will take some time, assuming there's a clear and workable plan for a post-Maduro era. OPEC Plus is expected to meet tomorrow to discuss supply. Iran's supreme leader says rioters must be put in their place as violent protests continue against the country's economy. At least 10 people there have died in clashes so far, with demonstrations spreading to more than 100 locations. President Trump has threatened intervention, saying the U.S. is locked and loaded to rescue protesters. Many of those injured in the deadly fire that engulfed a bar in the Swiss Alps on New Year's Eve are still fighting for their lives as officials continue investigating the tragedy. Valais Canton Attorney General Beatrice Pilot.
Everything suggests that the fire started from the sparkling candles or Bengal lights that were placed on the champagne bottles and brought too close to the ceiling. From there, a very rapid and general blaze occurred.
She says prosecutors are looking into possible criminal liability charges against those involved if they're still alive. 40 people were killed in the fire. More than 100 were injured. We may not see that big Santa Claus rally investors hope for every year, but stocks did edge higher to kick off 2026. And Howard Capital Management CEO Vance Howard tells us that could be a good sign.
You really want to have a good January. If January's up, 73% of the time the market does very, very well and ends up at the end of the year. And if the first 5 days of January are up, it's an 83% probability that the market's going to be higher at the end of the year. So, everybody pull for a good January.
The S&P and Dow ticked higher Friday. The Nasdaq was dragged down by tech stocks, including Tesla. AI will be a big focus at CES in Vegas next week. Here's Bloomberg's Karen Moskow.
Expect to hear from some of the biggest names in tech, with NVIDIA, Advanced Micro Devices, Samsung Electronics, and Lenovo Group among those making the case for AI. The show floor this year will be populated with AI-powered hardware, including the sort of smart glasses popularized by Meta Platforms. Many companies will also be testing consumers' readiness to accept AI-powered humanoid robots, with an entire hall at the convention space dedicated to robotics. Karen Moskow, Bloomberg Radio.
And strategists at Bank of America are now advising clients to snap up healthcare and real estate stocks. Bloomberg's Charlie Pellett explains.
They cite cheap valuations and positive trends in earnings revisions among the groups relative to the broader market. The head of equity and quantitative strategies, Savita Subramanian, says the firm is overweight the two sectors on a 12-month outlook. B of A remains underweight consumer discretionary and communication services, citing the risk of artificial intelligence to the U.S. consumer. Charlie Pellett, Bloomberg Radio.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Monica Rix, and this is Bloomberg.